Hey everyone, welcome to the We'll Name It Later show with your host Marzi Montazeri, episode number 4, interview section with my great friend, the Mighty Orq. Mighty Orq,
Brother Marzi.
thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, man.
I have to tell y'all a little bit about Orq. I just wanted to say hi to him and shake his hand to feel his love. Orq embodies love, and through the years that I've ever known him, he's a blues historian, and he's shown so much love because I've seen it 2 feet in front of me, in front of my eyes. I've seen this whole set this close, and I've been taken through, I would say, a journey that night, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. I was like, man, I just want to say thank you, thank you for that, because
Thanks,
thank you,
dude.
because it was like. Sometimes you see some great movies or documentaries or something that really embodies a true passion and fire about something, and you did that for me that night. And again, personal thanks, and let's get right to it, man. Talk about Little Orq. And by the way, your name is rightfully so, man. The Mighty Orq. You are absolutely that. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Houston.
Wow.
H-Town
native.
Yeah, born and raised, and my parents are both from West Texas, and they moved here, I think my mom moved here in like the mid-late 60s, and my dad moved here, I think after that. But then they lived in Austin for a little while because my mom was going to school, and then whatever. But yeah, they moved back here, and born and raised H-Town, baby.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You're a true H-Town gem. You truly are.
Thank you,
I
brother.
hold you high up there with Billy.
Oh,
Billy
man.
Gibbons. You're from Houstonians that have a true. He also with his roots with the blues and all that. Where did you go to school? What part of town did you grow up in?
So when I was little, we were living over in Sharpstown, and as I got older, we moved closer into downtown, and I ended up going to Lamar High School.
Okay, I'm very familiar.
And I went there, went to Pershing Middle School, Lamar High School, and that's really, those two spots were really sort of where I did a lot of the my formative years of guitar learning,
So that was going to be my next question. Where but prior to it, actually, your upbringing, was music a big thing in your family? Did anybody else beside you, did anybody play an instrument, or was there a love for it?
There was definitely a love for music. Both my parents really loved music. My mom's a poet.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And my dad, loves music. He loved rock and roll, So but he grew up in West Texas too. So and in the in the 60s and 70s, he was living in spent a lot of time in Austin, and so it's like between Led Zeppelin and Leon Russell and Willie Nelson and Jethro Tull and stuff like that.
Nice mix.
There's a bunch of, and another one was Leo Kottke.
Yeah.
So I heard a lot of that growing up too.
Oh, wow.
But my parents didn't really play musical instruments. The way I got into guitar, like when I was little, my mom was like, I was 5, and she was like, hey, why don't you take some violin lessons? They offered violin lessons at my school, different musical instruments and stuff. And so I started playing violin, just whatever, I was 5. And but my older cousin played guitar, and so they had left town and moved to Oregon. They came back for Christmas one year, and my folks got him, I think my parents and my uncle got him a guitar because he didn't bring a guitar with him. So it was like $10 or $15 from the pawn shop, Spanish guitar. And then when they went home, they left the guitar. So I played violin for a while, and but then the guitar was always in the house. And so after a couple years, I was like, I want to play guitar like my cousin. I don't want to play violin anymore.
How old were you then?
I started playing when I was 10, guitar.
That's
when
awesome.
I was 10, yeah.
And how was that? Were your folks okay with it?
Oh yeah,
And did you have progress on the violin also?
I was okay. I wasn't really. I remember one time, like when you're sitting there playing, and especially like I remember this as a younger person, man, like where you're playing, and you are in the zone, man, playing guitar. And I remember having that sort of one time on violin, but I wasn't super into it. I was never really. There were two star pupils in the school, in my elementary school, who were these two Austrian sisters, and they were killer violin players, man. And so they really sort of, I know the teacher was really focusing a lot on them, and so a lot of the other students, not quite as good, not quite as driven, say, to play violin when you're 8 or 9 years old. And so I didn't really get into it a ton. But yeah, I started playing guitar, and I
Think it helped you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Just having putting, hand to string,
Yeah, so it was like,
for so long. I've been doing it for 5 years.
And then you get on the guitar.
And then I got on the guitar.
Ooh.
And I wasn't like a great violinist or anything like that. But, just having that familiarity with how to do it, I started.
Very early age to start the
Yeah.
5 to 10, 5 years of,
Yeah, and it was.
building up calluses.
Oh, man, I think it was. And
Baby calluses.
Little baby calluses. I think it was really like, I really admire parents that, make their kids stick with something like that, because it's tough, dude. Like, anyway.
Especially tough on them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, for the parents, man, it's like tough to like, yeah, you got to practice,
Well,
like.
I mean, I didn't mean that. You hear all the donkey sounds. I've tried to play violin. That's like the best I can do on it.
Dude, so I could play stuff, right? Like, I wasn't terrible. Funny violin story talking about donkey sounds. We were playing in Germany. This was a few years ago, and our tour manager guy was, he was driving us around, taking care of the stuff. German guy, great bass player, great violinist, right? So it's the last gig of the tour, and his name was Uwe, and he would sit in with us at the end of the show and play violin, right, and shred. It was rad. And I was like, hey, Uwe, do you mind? I used to play violin. Do you mind if I just try it out? He's like, of course, you can try it, play it. So I play it, and it's just like, and I was like, oh, that's terrible. He's like, no, you are doing it wrong. This is my German impression, by the way. Sorry if I don't mean to offend anyone. But he's like, you are pushing the note in. You must draw the note out. Ooh. This beautiful, thing. And I was like, of course, that makes perfect sense. So I get ready, and I'm going to draw the note out of this violin, and it's like, it's like, yeah, that was it. It was the first time in 20 years, and I haven't played since, so. So yeah, man, definitely good on the parents for putting up with the sounds as well.
Yeah, and then putting up with it. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you get on the guitar, you got a little head start.
Yeah.
So what was that journey like?
It was really cool. So
that's still early.
Yeah.
Very early still.
Oh yeah. And I wasn't like super duper serious about it. But I started taking lessons with a woman named Eve Woodard. Okay. And at the drum, keyboard, and guitar shop. And she was really great, man. She was really encouraging and kind and supportive. And she's like, hey, you've got talent, and if you should really pursue this, And I thought, well, this lady obviously doesn't know what she's talking about. I smell BS here. But anyway, I kept doing it because it was fun. I was having a good time. And then we got to be friends. And by the time I was about 12, I took lessons with her for like 4 years. And by the time I was 12, I was like, yep, this is what I'm doing with my life. I'm going to play music, play guitar. Like, this is what I'm doing. So it took a couple years, and then, that was over 30 years ago.
Yeah, I met you when you were very young, and you were playing with Tony.
Uh-huh.
And, you're the same loving, beautiful, sweet smile, and you always have been a great guitar player.
Thank
but
you, man.
again, from the time that I met you and was impressed by you initially, and just what a nice guy and a great player you were, to the last time I had seen you, which was a while back.
Yeah, I think it was
You
before
know,
the pandemic,
and,
even maybe.
you know, yeah, before the pandemic, you will have to catch up and to know what you're doing now and what you're going to do next.
Hmm.
But I still wanna see this guitar journey of yours. You know, I tend so. Uh, you knew at 12 this is what you wanted to do.
Hmm.
What type of music were you listening to at that time? I know you're pretty broad
Yeah.
based.
So it was around that time that I started getting into blues, but before that, it was before I really got into blues music heavily. I still knew, I was like, man, I want to play, I want to play music. And so I was listening to like, at that time, because that was like 91, 92. So like Pearl Jam had just come out, Nirvana. Um, I was a big fan of like Faith No More. And the Chili Peppers had just released the Blood Sugar Sex Magic album. I'd been listening to them before that album came out, before it
Oh
was
yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Um,
So you like that tonality. You like these stylistically these bands.
yeah,
That same
and
kind of very cleanish.
like, but also like I loved Metallica and I loved Pantera.
Oh
Like that was like I was super into like man. I remember when I was like 12, 13. I mean, I would just play. I was play Cowboys from Hell like nonstop.
Oh,
Like I just
absolutely.
loved that riff and the whole tune and like Cemetery Gates and like stuff like that. I was super.
Hard to be a guitar player, not a live dimes player.
Oh yeah, But I just thinking about that today, I was just like, yeah, I still don't know how that happens. How you do what you do, man. How he did what he did. Anyway.
Well, I do. That's why I think about how you do the things but you were drawn.
Mhm.
Something inside of you was automatically
I saw BB King on this kids TV show one morning,
okay.
and he's sitting there he's in an interview just like this, and he had his guitar with him, and he played a couple licks, and he did his famous thing. It's like nobody loves me but my mother, and she might be jiving too, and then he plays a little bit more, and I was like, that's what I want to play. I want to be that guy.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
yeah.
BB King.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what got. I mean, he just like. I mean, it was just like that.
That was
man.
the spark right
yeah.
there.
I was like, oh. So it took me a little while to sort of make that transition, But that was the moment where it was just like, this is what I want to play, man.
So now in your blues history coming up, who were the key players? Like just going back like numerically, like who were the first? Who to say, like who in order, and who really blew you away?
So I guess like the first. I'm trying to remember what the first one was. I remember, well, I've listened to it like, so B.B. King, of course, and then I had these CDs by Buddy Guy that were like the Vanguard sessions he was real young and a lot of it was live, I guess in Chicago, and that stuff was just fiery. But then when I was like 14 or 15, my parents got me this biography of Stevie Ray Vaughan, which I didn't ask for, and I knew who Stevie was and I'd hear him on the radio. And I knew he had this amazing, very distinctive guitar tone, but I wasn't like actively seeking out his music necessarily. I was just, sort of looking around, seeing what was going on in the, at the record store, at the CD store. And so I read this biography, not really knowing his music very well. And it was a captivating read, man. Blues All Around Me. No, that's B.B. King's. This one was Caught in the Crossfires. Nick Patowski that wrote it, and I can't think of the other author. I'm so sorry. But it was a really cool book. It's really well written. So I was like, well, man, I got to go get a Stevie record. So I rode my bike to the CD store, and I got the album Couldn't Stand the Weather.
Oh wow!
And I just picked one at random. I just picked one out.
So what? So this is when
like 94.
So he's had albums out.
Yeah. I mean, he had his whole, because he had passed by that time.
Oh,
yeah.
And you go pick up Couldn't Stand the Weather.
So yeah,
that's your first.
That's
Stevie Ray.
first
Okay.
one. Yeah.
That's like the vulgar display of power.
That is correct. That is dude. It's to me personally, it's still my favorite Stevie album.
Yeah.
There's 8 tracks on that record, and every one of them is so interesting and unique. And they're all just beautifully done,
Touch on a lot of styles.
Yes, exactly.
Jazz.
Yeah.
That album also we'll get to it because I want to know. Go ahead.
Well, anyhow, yeah. So you know
So
that.
big.
So that record. When I heard that record, I was like, I heard the first tunes on their Scuttle Button, and I hadn't heard anybody play like that with that level of speed and proficiency, except for like Dimebag, you know, and in like metal music, and I was like, what is even happening here, you know? And so that I was hooked, man. And I listened to that record for about a year. Just it didn't leave my little CD player boombox for like a year. And then I got into you know, I got as many of his records as I could get a hold of. I think it was all of them, you know, on CD, of course. And just I really studied his style a lot for a couple years. And then a teacher who wasn't even my teacher at high school gave me a CD by this guy named Paul Black, which was not, it was a promotional copy of a CD. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it's like for promotional use only. And he was like kind of just the opposite of Stevie. He was a white dude from Madison, Wisconsin. But his playing style and singing style couldn't really been more different. You know, it was really swampy because he'd spent a lot of time in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And he played only slide. And he sang real, you know, he had this real, almost a Dr. John kind of vibe, you know, to him. And so those two guys, Paul Black and the Flip Kings, and then Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble, man, for like probably a couple years, were just like, I would alternate between those two records.
Those are two entirely different meals, flavors.
Yeah.
Just both, you know, 5-star each. Man, that is incredible. Because I love both styles, you know, and different. So, continue, man. Well, you know what? Let me tell you about this real quick.
Yeah.
I was in summer school, and everybody was going to lunch. You know, 4 hours, and again another 4 hours. I wanted to skip senior years, government and economics.
Heck yeah.
So I took summer school on purpose, so I can get them out of the way, so I could play more guitar. Blah blah blah. My friends were going to lunch. You going? No. I'm gonna hold this, man. He gives me the Sony Walkman. You know. He's couldn't stand the weather on it, right? First thing I hear is Tin Pan Alley. So my heart just melted away. So till they came back, it was like an hour, I heard it on repeat. I didn't even play anything else. Then when I heard Skull Button, my head exploded.
No, dude.
But Tin Pan Alley, man, you know, because, you know, how we're brought up and stuff like that, certain music, you know, well, music in general, it could be medicine, and how far you go to deliver and to take care of that medicine, and how far that man went to deliver those notes where you can hear him grind on the fretboard. You know, it's breathing. I heard the guitar breathe for the first time, and I heard such delicate, soft touches that prior to Jeff Beck had done. I'd heard Jeff Beck and Roy Buchanan, but that was amazing, man. So that's so that cool. Right there is like, that had to have been life-changing for you.
It was. I mean, it was huge. I mean, like you said, man, I mean, my mind was just blown because the guitar tone was so amazing. I'd heard him play before, but I hadn't really listened deeply, you know what I mean? And yeah, it was really like this beautiful, beautiful moment, man. And the other thing that was so interesting, because he used those huge strings, you know, was like on Voodoo Child's on that record. And so, you know, when he's doing, you know, boom, 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 I could really, because I was younger, my ears weren't, you know, all blown out from all the years of loud guitar music, you know, I could really hear that there was like a rumble from those big strings, you know, that he would use that you didn't hear in other, I'd never heard before, you know, so that was another thing that was super cool.
Wow.
You know,
you could hear the strength of the. I have heard.
Well,
that.
I didn't know what it was, but then when I heard it,
dang bass string.
It was a 50. He was using like, I think it was like 13 to 58s was what he used.
Okay.
And so it was a 58, and then like when I started using thick strings like that, 12. I think it was like theirs were like 12 to 54 because those are the only things I could get. And you know, and I heard it when I would play, and I was like, oh, that's why, because he's tuned down a half step, and there are these huge strings on there.
Yeah, it becomes really personal and physical.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had to quit using strings like that when I started like playing
a lot.
Yeah, I was like, I did some gigs with Tony, and I was like, no, we're switching back to something.
Yeah, it's like
something
you can
normal.
be a heavyweight fighter, but I mean, I mean,
but you can't fight once a month, you know.
yeah, if you're out every night, you
Yeah,
know.
man, I feel
Some
you.
of my peers do 8s.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, I know, dude.
I
Like,
mean, I'm talking like insanely great players. You're like, what? I mean, I hear rumors that Billy G did it too.
yeah.
I mean, like that tone, man. I mean, I guess Eddie did it too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did he
I'm
really?
done. You know, if you get tone like that, sign me up. But I can't play. I can't play nines.
Uh-huh.
I can't play low action personally.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? What is in this guitar journey we're talking about, players and styles, which is like you had the sun and the moon, seems like,
Uh-huh.
with the stylistically growing up and what attracted you. Guitar wise, what kind of stuff were you like playing at the time, or what tones were you going after? Was it
Man,
Stevie Ray's?
yeah. I mean, it was really the that sort of rich but clean sound. You know, this is, and man, everybody, we always chase tone, right? Like forever. The thing that I've finally sort of gotten to a point now with the main electric guitar that I use. It's an old gold top Les Paul with P90s, and then I use an old 65 Bassman, black faceplate Bassman head with a 212 cabinet. That's the go-to. And that Les Paul in the neck position has that thing where it's super responsive. So depending on how hard I strike the string with my right hand, you're going to get a little bit of that breakup that you're looking for, or it's going to be nice and clean, you know. And so that's always sort of what I had shot for, because that's like, you listen to great guitar tone, like Stevie's tone, like David Gilmour or something like that, these Jeff Beck, like you were saying, it's like these brilliant guitar players.
So it ends up being all you, man.
But a lot of it, and
It's
that's
all in your hands, and so your delivery. If you get aggressive, you're gonna hear that.
Yeah, you can do that. And of
If
course,
you wanna
man, I
be
have
subtle, you can be clean.
Yeah, exactly. And I got a pedal board the size of Delaware, but
Yeah, your arsenal and your vocabulary. As I was saying prior to us even starting this, it's pretty deep, man. How did it get so deep? And when did you start exploring other realms of the blues?
So it was. I knew that I wanted to be able to do something like solo, be like a solo player, or at least have that option. Because man, I mean, I'm sure you remember this. Like, dude, when we're kids and we're in school and you've got a band, say you're working with a group of other musicians that are young kids. Man, there is just like, it's just this like chaos, and I never felt like I could really. I had trouble working with these other musicians that I was working with, right? Because there's so many, the dynamics of the band are so sort of constantly changing, and well, so-and-so wants to do this, and so-and-so wants to do this, and I want to do this, and nobody can really kind of get together on an idea, And I'm not saying that's always the case, right? But that was just my experience. And so I was like,
But it's important in your journey.
Yeah.
It brought you to where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. And so I would sit and I would go just take my acoustic guitar, my little cheap Yamaha acoustic guitar, and go play like the blues guys of yesteryear on the street corner or whatever, and hang out and just play, and really enjoyed that. And so, and I saw the Searching for Robert Johnson movie that John Hammond Jr. made, and he's playing, they're playing Robert Johnson music, and then they actually have, and John Hammond's out there playing resonator and harmonica and singing and stuff out in the Mississippi Delta. And it was like, it wasn't as huge as B.B. King, I think, but it was equally important, because I was like, this is what I also want to do. Yeah. Because he was just there by himself, man. He had the bass going with his thumb, he was playing the melody with his fingers, had the Mississippi saxophone up there in his harmonica rack, and was just doing the whole thing himself. And I was probably 16, 17 when I saw that, and I was like, man, I really want to explore that. The Blues Foundation does this deal every year called, they have a few different things. You know, they do the Blues Music Awards. They do, another thing they do is the International Blues Challenge, the IBCs. And so they have, the Blues Foundation has regional affiliates throughout the U.S. and the rest of the world. Houston Blues Society being one of them. Okay, a little background. So anyway, I'm playing with the Tony Vega band. So Tony and I go to the Blues Challenge thing that they're having at the competition, I guess, at Billy Blues. And they have solo duo category, and then they have a band category. So we're watching the solo duo guys. And there's a fellow named Harlem Slim. And he's this tall, skinny, white dude. And he plays resonator guitar. And I was like, man, that is so cool. And he's a real interesting character. And so I go up to him after his set, after the thing gets done, and I was like, hey, man. And I'm like, dude, I was probably 19 or 20, you know, at this time. And he's a grown adult man. And I was like, hey, man, I really loved your set. He was like, oh, thank you. Would you like to buy a CD?
Yeah.
And I said, and like, I was like, oh, man, I don't have any money. But hey, and dude, I couldn't even get, like, I don't have any money out. And he just turned around and walked off. I was like, well, okay, all right. So later that night, I went to Cafe Brazil to like get some coffee or whatever and just hang out. He's there playing. And I was like, all right, dude, this is the universe, like. And so I was like, this is super cool. So I watched his set, and it was really cool. It was really inspiring. And I went up to him after his, you know, when he's on a set break, and I was like, hey, Slim, I saw you earlier at Billy Blues. You sounded great, you know. I really enjoyed your set tonight. He's like, oh, thank you. Would you like to buy a CD? And I said, well, I don't have any money. And he starts to like turn around and walk off. And I was like, but I was wondering if you give lessons. He's like, oh, yes, I do. And so he pulls out his card and gives me his card,
This
right?
is the best.
and so I ended up studying with him for probably about a year or so. And we're still great friends. As my very first guitar teacher, Eve Woodard, we're still great friends too.
That's
like
great.
I go and take lessons from her periodically, you know, every couple, 3 years. She's a killer jazz and classical player too now. But yeah, so I studied with Slim, and he was really, really kind and supportive, and you know, taught me how to finger pick and taught me more about open tunings. I sort of started to experiment with them a little bit. But yeah, that's sort of how I got into that style. And then from there, I started doing, when I left Tony's band and sort of started just working under my own name, I had the real good fortune to get a residency gig playing solo at the Big Easy on Tuesday nights.
Oh, wow.
And that was just a solo deal. It was actually Slim's old spot. He had decided he didn't want to really.
Slim, he's doing. I know that because I've seen his CDs at Fuller's and stuff like that as well. Never met him.
He's a sweetheart. He's a real character.
But I do remember him selling his DVD and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, he was a salesman, dude.
I
He
want
was
to
a
say
salesman.
MySpace. I don't even remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, for
possibly,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it's been. I mean,
He's a Houston cat.
yeah.
For people that are watching this and want to look him up. Also, Eve as well.
Oh, yeah.
She taught classical to her older friend of mine.
Oh, that's
As
awesome.
well, and she's an incredible instructor.
So Slim decided he didn't really want to play live as much anymore. So Tom at Big Easy asked me if I would take over the Tuesdays, and I was just in the process of leaving Tony's band, and so it was just this like godsend, and so I started doing that, and I started doing these solo gigs, and that was really sort of how that was my intro to playing solo, and over the years, really over the last 10 years, I'd say, I did 10 or 11 years, I've done a lot more solo stuff than I had previously. Most of the time it was always with the band, and I'd do like, my one little solo gig here, or whatever. Or I'd parlay that solo gig into a band gig, and we'd rock out. But, 10, 11 years ago, 2011, 2012, I started doing like more solo stuff. And so what I realized, what I began to sort of understand was like when you're playing, especially when you're playing solo, it's nice to have a variety of sounds that you can draw from, right? So that could be, you know, effects on the board. It could be different instruments. It could be different styles of music. And so that's, you know, it was really that idea. What I do now is just sort of a variety of different kind of styles of music that all have that blues accent, I think, to them, you know. But it's a variety of different stuff, and that really came about because I was trying to keep people interested and engaged when I was playing solo, and myself too, you know, and have fun. I love all these kinds of music, and I just like want to play everything. And when I see a cool instrument, it's like, oh, I want to play that too, you know. So, anyhow.
And so how are you managing to do all that? To explain your pedal board a little bit.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
Get into this because you're using these tools to bring about a pretty broad base, blues based, but pretty broad. Like I said, when I saw you with a band, but still yet, you did so much, man. You did so much. I was like, man, that was, you know, it was like stylistically, you know, just lyrically, you know, like this, like the chords, the voicings, and the modulations. It was just not normal.
Thank you. Oh, that's a beautiful
not
compliment.
in a bad way, but it was just like,
No, I
you know,
love it.
what you would think someone would do when they love something. It's like, you know, when the tree bears fruit finally. You know, like there's a lot of growing to do before you get to that point. You know, and so you did plenty of watering. Correct watering to get to that too, because I saw it, and I'm a music lover. I'm a fan of music first, you know. I love the guitar, and when I see it being played the way you play it, you know, or Stevie play it, or people that really love it, love it. You know, there's something good that goes on when you by yourself. When that, you know, I wish, you know, I understand tapping into that thing, and then you bring it about. And you share that love. So tell me what all do you use to bring about those voicings out live and stuff?
Man, it's, you know, it's it takes up a lot of room on the board, but I don't. It's not that complicated. Like, you know, so much of it is, and it's like I like that you say it's, you know, describe these things as a tool, because these things are tools. You know, they're not
Like spices and
Yeah, exactly. You know, a lot of times they get sort of, you know. I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, you know, your talent booster, you know, this and that," and I'm like, "Man, it's not really. That's not how we're using these things." But you know, so usually, like, I've got a drive pedal. I actually have, and this is sort of among, you know, serious pedal nerds and guitar nerds. This is, I think, a little bit taboo, but I have, and I've been using for a while now. The Boss ME80, which is a multi-effects deal that has like all these different Boss effects in there.
Yeah.
Dude, it's awesome, and it's cheap.
If it works, and you get your tones out of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how many times in your life have played that cheap? I paid $50 for it.
Yeah.
You did? It sounds like a Martin.
Exactly. So I use that a lot. I've got a nice, very cool Chula love pedal that I use for like kind of big, you know, big sounds, because it's big, it's awesome. But really, it's like, you know, there's reverb, there's some delay. I alternate between like delay and slapback on the same little deal. There's sort of a reverse thing that I like to use a lot because it's really trippy, you know. And I really love that sort of Leslie sound, so I'll use that. And this is all coming from the little ME80 thing, you know.
You just see right there with the reverse thing. I'm familiar with it being a player, and I've used some on recording. You typically don't hear that.
No.
From a blues guy.
No, exactly. I was inspired by my buddy John Egan, he's pretty much exclusively a resonator player, and he does this really well, where he uses, you know, he's using reverse, he's using all these sort of different things, and I remember hearing him do that one time. I'd never heard him do that before, and I was like, I have to do this. I was like, I'm John, I am stealing this, my friend.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing.
It's super fun, and so, you know, just all these sounds.
You bring that into your audience, people that so you're expanding that again. To me, it's all love.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to even like touch this thing and to be able to like, play music in this universe that we live in, it's a blessing, and it's wonderful. It's art and music. It's like personal passion. Take it away from any movie or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't funny. It ain't sad. It ain't angry. It ain't suspenseful. But certain people again put love into it, and you have done that so well. I haven't looked at this once, and I've been looking at that though, and I know prior to you you brought your telly, and what all different instruments do you toy with? I know you have an arsenal, and I know they all serve a different purpose.
Yeah.
And you only brought a few with you, a couple with you, and I know hopefully you'll play that in a minute.
Heck yeah.
But give me a little background on the guitar because obviously you electric first, Stevie Ray, Tonish, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
So dude, I was a Strat guy until, well, for 25 years. And what I discovered, I had been at a jam one night at the Big Easy, and one of the fellas there, I think he may have been running the jam, John Richardson, had this gold top. It was like a 69 or 70, 71 gold top Les Paul with P90s in it. And I didn't have a guitar, and I was just like, he was like, yeah, dude, you can use my guitar, So I played his guitar, and I was like, and I was just playing straight in, no effects or anything, and it sounded amazing. And I was like, probably 19 or 20, right?
It's not a Les Paul. People get it mixed up. To me, that guy is in between a Strat and a Paul.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right. And I was floored by the tone because I had this Les Paul tone sort of in my mind of what it's gonna sound like that I don't really. It's just not sort of for me or whatever. It sounded great, and I went up to John after the our little set or whatever at the end of the night, and I was like, "Hey, man, this guitar's really great." Like I had no idea what it was. So like I was like, dude, like if you ever want to sell it, like let me know. And he just kind of like smiled, like this knowing smile, like he was like, okay,
he got the bug.
Okay, kid, whatever. Like I'm not selling this,
right.
Ever. And so later I realized I was like, oh, this is what these guitars are, And the gold top Les Paul P90s, and so man, I wanted one for years and years, and I finally, but so in the meantime, I was playing Strats, and then I picked up this weird brand of guitar called an Italia, and they had them at Rockin' Robin, and they were, the woman that was playing bass with me at the time had got one, and it was this real flashy, kind of like glittery, like weird fake mother of pearl, very
like a Strat body type.
No, it was, dude. The bass looked like it was like almost like a Les Paul bass, but the top was like this red sparkle, and the back, sides, and neck was all one piece of plastic or whatever. Was like this, kind of like pearl, like mother of toilet seat, kind of, deal. But it sounded really cool. And they had so they had that bass, and they had a bunch of guitars at Rockin' Robin. So I'd gone in there, and like, I saw this guitar that it was the same color as hers, but except the top was the mother of toilet seat, and the back was this red sparkle. But it was a Jazzmaster copy with a Wigsby, Bruce Wilkinson Bigsby tremolo, and Wilkinson P90s, and so I got that. It was cheap. I don't know, it was like $300 or something, and it sounded great. It sounded amazing. I loved the pickups and these P90 style pickups, and so the guitar itself was kind of cheap, kind of a cheap instrument, and so I decided I was going to get some stuff from All Parts and just put together a Strat for these pickups, and so that's what I did, and I got it painted like with nitro cellulose lacquer, and just it's like a early 60s or late 50s Strat, but with two P90s. And so I played that for years, and I absolutely love it. I actually just took it to the shop today to get a little work done on it, because I hadn't played it in a few months because something wasn't quite right with it. so I played that for years and years. That was my main electric guitar, and
That's totally interesting.
yeah, and
by
it
the
was
way.
P90s. It's all about those P90s, man. And then I finally came across.
You made your own little Frankenstein.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And man, I just it's what's interesting too is that it sounds super stratty, but like full. It's not thin the way that it sounds, but it sounds like a Strat because I remember thinking I in 2015 I went ahead and I spent some money and I got this 71 gold top with P90s, no Tune-o-matic bridge, like the 54 reissue, just like I'd always sort of dreamed about, for the last 25 years. And and I thought to myself, why did I spend all this money? I already have a guitar with P90s that sounds great that I love. Like I'm an idiot. And then I started playing this Les Paul, and it sounded incredible. Because I bought it like sight unseen, unplayed. Like I just got it off of eBay.
Oh wow.
Like a fool. Would not recommend doing that. I got lucky.
But you like that?
Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. And then of course the Les Paul sounds. It's big and it's muscly and it's rich, but it's spanky and clear and can twang. Because of those P90s.
Very clear.
And so that's those are the two electric instruments that I use a lot. And this Tele, which also has a P90 in the neck.
It's a good way to put it. It's beefy.
Yeah, it is.
But
adds.
It still has percussion and a clarity.
Yeah.
I particularly love it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's still nuance there. You don't lose the nuance, because sometimes humbuckers and dude, it's even true with Strat and Tele pickups where they really try to overwind those pickups. You'll lose all the nuance in those pickups because people are trying to really give you all this power and volume, and it's like you don't have to do that. Anyhow, that's my opinion. Don't mind me, but
yeah, this way the human interaction with it is more true.
Exactly.
Because again, it responds to your touch and your attack.
Yeah.
Altogether,
Exactly.
But back when I used to play the Les Paul, people used to go, what do you do for the clean channel? I said, I turn the guitar down. And I would turn the guitar down, and I'm telling you, it was like crystal clear, clean guitar, clean like a Fender Twin. I would turn it up, midway, you would hear a grit, and I would have a lot of gain. I would play like gain, like an 8 or a 9, and the leads, I would turn it all the way up. It was like one stop shop, and when you attack, you hit hard and it comes through. The rest of it is a lot of masking. This kind of keeps you in touch with your. Well, anyway, you have been in touch with the delicacy that goes with it. You have true. I guess that's the best way to put it. Is like you have really, used all the tools about to still. Your roots are so well put. So tell me a little bit more about these instruments, man.
So the main electric guitar is the Les Paul, the gold top.
Magic.
It does, man.
Does
There's
have a
something
name?
about it. She is the only guitar I have that has a name.
Wow,
Her name is Loretta.
that's incredible.
Yeah, I've never named an instrument before.
I don't name instruments either.
Yeah, but this will say, oh, this is Loretta.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And then, then I'm my Strat with P90s, which is a great guitar and it's super stratty sounding still, which I love. And then I use a couple different resonator guitars. This is the main one. This is a National Triolean, and I use like open G and open D tuning on this guy. And I use it for solo. I use it with the band. They do tend to feed back a little bit, so you got to watch that.
What do you use for amplification for these guys?
Same. I just plug it right into the amp. Same deal. Just like if it was electric, or
Bassman?
just like if it wasn't hollow. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Bassman through the board.
Just amazing, rich,
And,
warm tone.
Yeah.
All around. I love those.
This is the beauty, and I discovered this because speaking of other instruments, a few years ago, I started to learn the steel guitar, like pedal steel, and then I thought, well, maybe I should figure out what it does without the pedals first. So I was doing that, And a volume pedal is integral to that instrument, or at least it was in my case. And so I put a volume pedal on my board, and dude, it has changed like everything about, not everything, but it makes it's a wonderful thing to have on your board. Like if I can only get away with one pedal, it would be a volume pedal.
Wow.
You know? So I use that a lot with this one, and then I have this resonator, and then I have another one that I have strung halfway between, like the Keith Richards string and the 5-string open G deal. It's strung like that, and then it has a high G on the top, like a banjo. So I've got the high G, where the 6th string would be, and then the 5th string is like the lowest G. And so I can play like some, Delta blues style stuff on there, and I can also play some banjo style stuff on there. Eventually, if I get brave enough, I'm gonna bring the steel back out and play some stuff with that, and then.
That's a beautiful sound that thing makes.
It is. They're stunning.
It really makes you cry, man.
Yeah.
Like the way. I guess what it is it's the way the way the notes go together. It's just like dreamy.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Like the transitions are like it's just like a fade into something.
Yeah.
It really makes you weep if it's played correctly. What tuning is the instrument that you brought with you today?
So this one right now we're in D.
Okay.
And then I'll go between D and G on this guy because there's not too big of a diff. I can do that pretty quick. And the both tunings have, at least for me, the way that I think about them is they sort of have distinctly different uses. Now, you can use them however, because they're really not that dissimilar.
But they're completely different, obviously.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
Bring about different voicings.
Yeah, and they so
one's G, open G.
Yeah, G
one's
and D. Yeah,
okay.
And when the way I think about it is like the D tuning right now. Like I'll do a lot of alternate thumb picking where I'm picking the bass between the 6th string and the 4th string, or either 6/4 6/4 or 5/4 6/4. And then with the G tuning, you can do absolutely do the same thing. But then what you can also do, what I'm most comfortable with doing on that one, in that tuning, in the G tuning, is playing more like Robert Johnson style, like Delta blues and stuff like that, where you're just playing quarter notes on the G string, which is the 5th string, and you kind of just ignore the 6th string altogether, which is the low D, unless you're playing like the 5 chord or something. But yeah, so, and I can swap between them pretty quickly. And
can we hear what that sounds like?
Yeah.
One other fascinating thing to me is what you just put on your finger.
Oh, yes.
Again, I've never seen one before, but then I saw it. I saw it on your finger, again, 2 feet away from me. And when, like, that night was like, you were a clinician, man. So then I saw that for the first time too, and it's brand new to me.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, with you, it's like, Stanley Jordan, when you see him play, when I used to explain, when he was the first cat to come out with 2 hands, and I used to tell people, it's not really so much what that, it's the musicality, man. It's the music he's playing.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with you. It's just not the fascinating part that you're using that, but it's like, wow, what is this thing, man? I'm the worst, by the way. You're talking about the donkey thing? That's me with a slide guitar. I
Dude,
cannot play slide.
It is such a different approach. It's such a different, like, mental approach to playing.
I love it. I love the way the voicings are incredible.
Yeah.
Derek Trucks is one of my favorite players. And the way,
Yeah.
you can really make it sing, man.
It is true.
Go ahead, please.
Well, so this is called a jet slide, and the cool thing about this is you can the big problem that every slide guitarist faces, if they may not consider it a problem, but some people do, is that you lose a fretting digit to the slide.
Correct.
Right? So it's going on your pinky, it's going on your ring finger, middle finger, first finger, whatever. And the jet slide allows you to,
okay.
So it's got this little tab on there so you can press it forward. So now you're playing slide, and then you can just move your finger like that, and now you can fret, you can chord, you can play.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool deal. It's this father-son team out of Colorado, and they've been doing it for years. Like I got, not this one, but I got the first one. I had like, I think I was at the Arlington Guitar Show in like 98, maybe 99. And I had $50 and it was $25 to get in, and the slide was $25. So it was like perfect. And yeah, I bought one there. I thought it was ingenious, and I've used it like ever since. And then nobody, they're rarely used. The fella, who's the guitar player? Holiday, from the Rival Sons. I can't think of his first name, but I know he uses one.
I've only seen it being used once after I've seen you use it. I didn't know they existed. You were the first person I've seen use it.
Yeah, they're not wildly popular, and they're not as popular as
you do well with it.
Thanks, man.
And I can't wait to hear you play it. Also, I met someone that had that invented the sliding, the gliding capo, and I was just like, man. And he was demoing it, and he was like, and he was just moving it, you know, the capo that rolls in the back.
Dude, I'm gonna need to investigate that.
Yeah, I got you.
That sounds awesome.
It's genius. He just literally moves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it
glides.
That's crazy.
You just move it, you know, and you're in a different key.
That's crazy, dude.
Yeah, I was thinking that you probably was up on that.
No.
I had one probably with
no,
you.
no, never heard of that.
Yeah.
I did see this crazy thing. Speaking of wild stuff, I don't know if I saw it, where I saw it, somewhere. You can make any guitar fretless. It's this plate that you loosen your strings, you put the plate, it snaps onto your fretboard.
No way.
Yeah, snaps onto the neck, and then you tighten the strings back up, and then you've got a fretless guitar. Now, I don't know how well it'd work.
That's amazing.
I don't know how fast you could do that.
Right.
But it seemed pretty rad. I was like, do I need this too?
Man, prior to you playing, I got to tell you this also.
Yeah.
I saw this little gadget on Instagram. My brother emailed me like a week later. He goes, "Have you seen this gadget?" I said, "Man, I just seen that." Okay, it's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I go look at my mail, and then I got this little thing. But what it is a bow by Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
It's a guitar bow.
Oh, dude.
It's got hair on both sides. You have to have an acoustic guitar for it to work, because it has to go into the sound hole to come out.
Oh, shrimp.
And so you can do 2 strings at a time, depending on angle, so you can get harmonies. And so, you know, I've always like commissioned people to play strings for me and whatnot. Now I get an acoustic guitar, put some reverb on it, and like, I'll play a recording of it.
Oh, yes. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's just, you know, for our guitar players, you know, pushing our, you know, helping us. So, yeah, I'll hook you up with the sliding glide. And this, I have to see this in person. Yeah.
Or something like that.
Man,
Something like
was
that.
fucking
I'm getting a little
nasty.
squirrely.
That was awesome, man. That was nasty, man. Yeah, you did some nasty stuff in there. That was amazing, man.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you for playing that piece. Thank you for. Yeah, that was to watch it in real life, and I was getting it. That's amazing. Would you like to play another one, man?
Sure.
Oh man, that was awesome, man. That was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, when you when you put the slide to the side and you go and start playing those voices, it becomes something completely. It goes into a different world, and those chords and those voicings, and then you come back, and it's like that's really interesting. What is that piece called?
So that's a combo of stuff. So usually that one's I call home cooking, and so
That really, the home cooking.
Mhm.
Okay, home cooking really. Thank you for playing it.
oh
It really embodies you. So that's you're kind of like you're stylistically. You come from like I guess like the sun and the moon. You get well-rounded. I would say, very well-rounded cat, and the delivery is there, playing in front of me, playing in this room completely raw. I'd have some reverb, man. No, but it sounds so wonderful and so beautiful and so powerful. And so go and tell me more about home cooking.
so when I was first learning this style, this finger picking style, and playing slide in this way, I would practice, and then I would kind of try to write songs. I would just sort of try to mess around and see if I could come up with something as sort of a way of familiarizing myself with the process, right, and the style. And so I think this was the first one that I came up with, and this one I called Monarch Jump. So it's like. And then the second part of that is this, what I was playing at home cooking. So. So that's part of that song. So
Yeah,
I was just
the way
like,
you fuse it together, though.
yeah, and just that rhythmically, and it's like, and especially coming out of the, I was just trying to think. So much of this stuff like is developed out of like sort of practical purposes, or like that's not exactly it, but like so many of the gigs that I have played over the years, like it's like, man, you're playing for 3 or 4 hours. And you gotta, okay, man, the set starts at this time and I can't stop until this time. And so I'm trying to think like, well, what can I play here? And then you sort of get into that mode and like, I'll just start throwing in all kinds of stuff and not thinking about it. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is cool. This makes sense. And so it just becomes part of the,
That's
part of the piece or whatever.
Man, like the biggest wave.
It's very much like that. What a great analogy, yeah.
I'm feeling it, what you're saying to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you get on there and you're just like, okay, we got to keep going here, and that, like, this is the neat thing about
the element of surprise was the most exciting thing about music, and I think when you did that,
mm-hmm.
because after that beautiful chord progression, going into it is like a surprise. But then, you're back, even going back out of it, it's just like, it reminds you that, where the hell did it even come from?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool, because it's just like all of a sudden, and that really, the element of surprise is good. And having to play for such a long period of time, and now you're telling me, the surf analogy goes with it, because that's all I was thinking. It's like, man, you're on the edge of this ginormous ride, and you have to keep on creating. And you get to think about your next move on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a wonderful thing, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to like dance and weave through. Go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
I love it. I love that, man. I had not thought of it in that way, and I think that is absolutely beautiful and just so poetic. I love it, dude.
But tell me, how do you in this long set, like you were saying, you have to like think to yourself, you gotta create it.
Yeah, and well, with the solo stuff, it's easier in a way to do, because I don't have to. Nobody else has to know the song, or you don't have to really call any changes or anything. You can just kind of go with it. I mean, it can even be, it can be just as weird as you want it to be. And then like, but the thing that always sort of occurs to me, it's like, man, I get lazy, and it's like, man, okay, I don't want to practice, or I don't want to rehearse, or, or I don't want to do this gig, man. When you do those things, 9 times out of 10, there's gonna be some positive experience that happens that you learn from, and that you can like take with you, and so that's one of those things where it's like, I wouldn't have come up with that if I had not had to sit, in some place for 3.5 hours and like play. That probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's a beautiful thing, and like you say, just riding the wave. Another thing that I do all the time, and it's because I'm naturally just a silly person, is I'll throw in, sometimes I'll hear something like a famous lick or something like that, while I'm playing something else, right? So it's like you're playing I don't know what, and like. Time to change these. No, I think you're okay.
But earlier you were like, let me turn this way so it won't pop.
There you go, see?
And here we are.
But like, and so I'll throw in some stuff like this, So like this is when the string broke. This is a song I was gonna play. Was like. You know, something like that, right? So you're playing that. This is, you know.
I love how you go from kind of like kind of playing open, and then how you mute.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I love that too. It's really, and this is, you know, this is another thing I learned about doing a lot of solo gigs is how to really work with, you know, dynamics like that to just completely change the feel of something without, you know, you don't have a lot going on. You got, you know. So a lot of times I'll even like, sometimes I want to get really like out there, I'll just like. You know, just take the bass all the way out. You know, you're just doing melody or something like that. Yeah. But so in that song, right? So we do that. That's one of the I do with the band, right? And so then, you know, I'll sort of change the picking pattern a little bit. We have this little breakdown, and then instead of doing the sort of alternating bass melody, I'm going back to the quarter note. You know. You know, stuff like that, or like Tequila's another one, because the deal we do on Thursdays at Big Easy, we call it Tequila Thursday, so. You know, stuff like that. Or Sweet Child of Mine, you know, throw that lick in there somewhere, or like Unskinny Bop, Poison, you know. You know. But stuff like that, you know, or just things. So that's another thing that I'll do that's just kind of wacky and.
I like where it stays on the it creates tension.
Yeah, you know.
It asks for a release somewhere.
It's another thing too. Is that like if people aren't paying attention, maybe they're doing something else. They'll hear something that they know, and that'll like sort of grab their attention. Like, what was that? And then they're like sort of back looking at the band for a minute. You know, I don't know. It's not really a grand scheme. I'm just silly.
No, it's interesting how that works.
Yeah, but I have noticed that.
Like that's again, it falls into the realm of, to me, element of surprise.
Yes.
And you know, for me, music that turns me on, it doesn't really matter how complicated it may be, because I mean, you know, like yourself, truly love the blues, and it, although, you know, once you get into the blues, and you can get into Johnny Winters and go, oh, okay, it's just like science, man. This is not easy.
Yeah.
You know, and when they were, and then, you know, people like yourself to break it down and make it look so easy, but you know, I think you did what Stevie Ray always talked about doing. It's like you take it in, and then you just give it back. And then, you know, you're learning all these different styles, and for you to do this, you know, today, I think it's very challenging, and it's refreshing. It's really refreshing. To me, it's awesome. I love traditional stuff, and you stick true to it.
I try to be, man. You know, there's.
But it's like you stick to tradition. You know, you move about traditions.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Hank. You know, the third. You know, he plays country, then he plays ass jack in the same night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it.
I love it too.
You know.
He's
Love
another
that.
great player.
Yeah.
He played Continental Club one time. It was it was crazy. It was the craziest show I've ever
believe
seen,
it,
man. It was like honky tonk. Next thing you know, it was a mosh pit. Yeah, man, it was a great time. But you do that so well. And that was a beautiful piece, man.
Thanks, man.
I love how you're doing that. So now, this is the G tuning, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and so like this one I use a lot for where I'm just doing quarter note bass notes with the thumb. Although I discovered this interesting thing a while ago, and I actually I've written a couple tunes with it where I combine the two tunings. So what is it?
Oh wow.
So and it's very simple. Instead of having in the G tuning here, which it mainly consists of those 5 strings, you got a low D here, but the second string is the B, which is the third of G. But if you tune it, tune it down to A, right? So now you've got, you're getting closer to the D tuning, but instead of you've got what the third is if you want to change this to, like, you think of this in D. you've got 2 G strings, which are the 4th of D, right? Yeah. And so now it sounds like a D suspended chord.
Yeah.
And so you can, so it's like, so you can start playing, like, I think of it like I'm playing in D, but the
Or it's
sound
like
is a little different.
Yeah, it sounds like a dominant chord, doesn't it? Yeah.
So like I actually wrote we've got a new record coming out here pretty soon, and this, like, I wrote a tune in this tune here, 2 of them, 2 tunes. One of them I'm playing. This actually has lyrics. One's an instrumental, but stuff like that. So. And now you're just back to regular old G. Another cool thing about this tuning is, like, the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd string are all just standard tunes. So you can kind of do some of that stuff too, which is fun.
That is totally awesome. Again, another best of both worlds kind of.
Yeah. I'm so, it's like, man, maybe, this sort of, if I could just combine everything into one instrument, but it just doesn't work. Because the other,
you have the bass drum in the back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like that's
the whole
too
drum set.
That's too much. I feel like, me personally, I would not be able to do that. Well.
But you do it. You find ways to do it with your records.
Yeah. Try to.
So you get a new one coming out.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a new one. We just did final mixed review on like 3 days ago, and it went to mastering 2 days ago, and so hopefully we'll have something cool to listen to next week or or two.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Well, we want to real quick, just like for the listeners, when can people quickly go and find you?
Go to mightyorq.com, or I know now a lot of folks use Linktree, and that's just, you can go to Linktree, and it's the Mighty Orq, and Orq is spelled O-R-Q, O-R-Q, O-R-Q. And yeah, I mean, you can basically just put it in Google and it'll come up, as long as you spell it O-R-Q.
You're the only one I've ever met.
Yeah, there is only one.
Like, yeah. You're so unique,
at least in English,
so many ways. Not just your name, but your playing, and the styles that you play and everything. It's so awesome, man. I love these tunings, man. Would you like to play more, or?
Sure, I could do another quickie here. I'll do a little abbreviated one here. So this is a song by another native Houstonian named Hop Wilson, or Papa Hop Wilson. He was a blues player in the 50s and 60s, and he didn't like to travel, and so he didn't really tour. But he was, really well thought of in the Houston music, Houston blues community, Houston music community at that time, and he played. But the really interesting thing was that he played a steel guitar, like one of those double neck, double 8-string double neck steel guitars, and so all his stuff was done, flat like this, and I thought that was super cool. But I adapted this tune for solo instrumentation. It's called "I Feel So Glad." Let's see if I can do it here. So glad, yeah, I feel so glad, yeah, I'm so glad, honey, I feel so glad, you know that I'm so glad, trouble don't last always.
It's so good. I love it so much, man. I
man.
love that, man. Your vibrato, your voice, and your playing. I love it, man. Something about that music, man, just sits home. You know, I'm a Persian kid, you know, born in Iran, in Tehran, and like moved to Houston, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So part of this stuff was like, you know, I was raised with it. I wasn't born with it, but I was raised with it. And people ask me if I like play, like have like any kind of like heritage type stuff, and I wasn't really more like Spanish flamenco style, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have no idea why that's in me, but man, the blues, man. And again, Stevie Ray changed my life.
Yeah.
Because man, you do it so well, and it's to sit this close to you and watch you play this. It's amazing.
Ah, dude.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here. I'm not calling. I'm not. That was truly amazing.
Thank you, brother.
I don't
Thank you
even
so
know.
much.
I haven't had to use this once. So what do we have on here? So
My favorite color is blue.
yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
No, I don't know. I'm just making
Is
it
it
up.
really?
No,
Because the Strat is blue.
no. What is it? No, if I had to pick, I don't know. Maybe more of a turquoise.
Turquoise.
Man,
Nice.
I don't know.
Man, what else do you do with that besides guitar? What are like some of your hobbies and passions and love and stuff?
Dude, so really, I have tried to sort of pick up different hobbies here and there over the years. That nothing ever really stuck. Because I was always just, you know, was always gigging, always doing music stuff. And when the lockdown happened, I had to sort of figure some things out because I didn't have any gigs and didn't have any money. And so I started getting into, started doing live streaming and doing video stuff. And then I got really into photography. So like the last couple years, I've been super into photography.
I've seen your work. It's really good, man.
Thanks, man.
It's like really, really, really good.
It's
In fact, I saw a clip of some of your stuff I took and forwarded it to Brett on Instagram. I was like, man, check out this dude's work, man. I was like, he's setting the bar here.
Man, well,
more power to you, man. You seem that's wonderful, actually. So you've actually taken on to that.
Yeah, and man, like I've been doing. I started out doing a lot of photo shoots with like my musician friends and colleagues and stuff, and working with other clients and stuff now. And it's a blast, you know. I really enjoy it.
That's what it's all about.
And the neat thing about it is it's like what we're doing right now. It's like we have known each other for many years, right? And so it's particularly fun to get to sit down and just chat.
Right.
Because like we never get to do, because you know if we see each other, man, it's at a music venue, and
Correct.
you know one of us is playing, or it's super loud, or it's, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
So that doing photos with folks, especially my music friends and colleagues and stuff, I get to like just sit and chat, and we get to talk, and like
It allows slow time.
Yeah, and it's just, so that's been really wonderful about it too. And then hopefully, if I've done my job right, they end up with some images that they can use, you know, for their stuff.
I've seen your page, and I follow it, and I love all the stuff that you're doing.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's good to have the right representative to be there, capturing a time and place for reflection. You know, because that's what it is, and that's another thing that you're doing. It's more than the end result, which is the photograph, or this. You know, it's more so the experience, and that again, it's time to. It's once in a while we have to slow down and reflect, and I appreciate you and taking your time being here, because the whole premise of me wanting to even do this was to expose people, you know, like hand in hand, you know, like you said with what you did with the guitar thing, you take it to a different audience, you know, we haven't heard it before, and so I've somehow. You know, the heavy metal dude.
But you're an artist, you know. I mean, that's artist. The, you know, whatever genre.
I was dubbed, you know, the high priest of distortion, and it was the funniest thing, because now I play with a lot of gain. But like my last record was with that I had recorded was the Heaviest Texas album, and I was like, they're like, what did you do with the sound there? I was like, I took the gain and took it all the way down practically, and I really did. I was like, pushed the old school like Marshall tone.
Hell yeah.
High Priest of Distortion was like far from it, but now you use a lot of gain, and it's HPD, man. We're from Houston Police Department. Sorry, man, I get derailed, but I actually, while we're talking about it, I do have a signature guitar, and it happens to be orange.
Hell yeah.
And I have a friend here who's got an orange GTO, old school, man, like a 67, So I think we need to go up front instead of in front of Minute Maid Park and have ourselves a little photo shoot.
Let's do it, dude.
Let's do that. We'll do that.
Oh, that would be a blast. That's going to be so
we'll have
cool,
fun.
dude. That'll be amazing.
And I wish you well in your venture. You're already doing great. So y'all hit up Orq. He's doing killer photography. Well, and,
Smile.
While we're doing this, I wanted to ask you, what is some funny stuff that's happened career-wise?
Oh, man. Wow.
I mean, sometimes that could be embarrassing stuff, and sometimes,
Here's a weird one, because this one stands out. So when I was, how old was I? I think I was 23 when I started, started my own band, right? And the very first gig, I used to do this Saturday mornings or Saturday, noon or something. The St. Arnold Brewing Company would do tours of their brewery, and so I would go and play for tips at that deal after the tour, and people sitting around drinking beer, so I'd go play solo. And I had booked some gigs, right? And so I went and I bought a PVPA head, a couple speakers, speaker stands, whatever. Maybe I didn't have speaker stands, just a couple speakers and a PA head, right? PVPA head, which PV's indestructible. Anyhow. So I get to this little gig. I do my noon gig or whatever, using this PA to just test it out, make sure I know how to use it, right? It's like, okay, cool, got it. And I get to the nighttime gig in South Houston at the Lighthouse Pub, tiny little strip mall bar in South Houston. And get there, we set up. Anyway, so it's me and the band. And so we get there, we start playing, and this is when 59 was like under major construction. So this, it's maybe 2 lanes each way tops, maybe less. Anyhow, so we get about, 45, 60 minutes into the first set. The PA dies, just completely fails. My brand new PA, brand new. And so the drummer's like, well, man, I got my PA at this other venue. I can go grab it. Or it's at home or something. I can go grab it. I live close by. It's like, cool. So him and the bass player go to get this other PA head. In the meantime, luckily, I kind of knew how to play, solo stuff. So I'm playing just some solo songs, in the middle, and the owner's just standing there like, this is terrible. And so the guys, so anyway, so I'm sitting there, so when I stop after a while, and the bass player comes back in and he goes, hey man, have you had anything to drink? I was like, nah, dude, I haven't, I'm sober, and he's like, come on, you're going to have to take so-and-so's car home, or at least tell him you can take so-and-so's car home. He just got arrested. I was like, wait, what is happening? So the drummer got arrested. The cops pulled him over in the parking lot of the venue.
Oh, no.
Arrested him for, whatever reason. And and then I'm walking, so me and the bass player are walking out, and there's the cops out here in this parking lot. I'm smoking a cigarette, and this car, there's a convenience store next door, the car backing out backfires, and both cops put their hands on their guns, and me and the bass player are just like, no, it's not, no. And so the cop's like, hey, okay, show her my ID, yada yada, and then she's like, you know, you had anything to drink or you on any drugs or anything like this? And I'm like, no, I'm completely sober, you know, nicotine. And she's like, okay. And then she's like, put your hands on the vehicle. And I'm like, okay. I put my hands on the car and I look and there's my buddy in the back of the car and I could see him mouthing like,
Oh no!
and so I'm standing there, and then she cuffs me.
Oh,
These two female officers, and she cuffs me, and she's like, have you ever been to? She starts at, what did she ask me? Have you ever been to Vidor, Texas? I was like, no. She's like, have you ever kidnapped anyone? I was like, no. And so, anyway, I was just, at this point, I was just like, and then she kind of goes off and is like doing something, her and her partner or whatever. And this is my first gig, mind you, under my own name with my own band, you know, as a professional.
Oh, whoa.
And,
what a first gig, man.
Oh, dude. And so I just, at that point, I was like, okay, this is absurd. I'm going to just, this is fine. You know, this is great. I'm not going to worry about it. This is great, you know. And then she let me go and she took the drummer off to jail and bass player got the drum kit together and you know, took the vehicle home, and I was just like, okay, I guess I'll pack it up now. I don't know if I'm getting paid tonight. I don't think I got paid for that one.
Twilight Zone.
It's so bizarre, dude.
Stuff.
Yeah, like
and somehow you fit the description of a kidnapper from Vidor, Texas.
That is correct. Like same legal name as me, and I was just like,
oh, okay,
I guess.
Okay, something crazy.
I mean, it was, you know, and this is like, what year was this? This is like 2002 or 3, you know, like.
Tell me there's a song coming out.
No, but man, I should write that. There's enough distance now where I should do it, man.
Wow, man.
That was the wildest. That was probably the wildest thing. I'm sure there's been other crazy things, but
yeah, for your first gig,
yeah,
it was like, hello.
Yeah, like I'm like, should I do this? Is this? Should I pursue music as a career? But yeah. I mean, they let me go. I mean, I didn't do anything, you know. So they let me go.
What happened to your PA, man?
I took the PA home, and I think I took it back and exchanged the head for something that worked, and then I still have that one actually.
Well then,
and it still works.
So. Yeah, so this one's indestructible, not the previous one.
Yes.
You said previous.
Dude, and like I used to have it like in the back of my truck, like just
like previous indestructible.
Smash, you'd be smashing.
After the first gig.
That's exactly right. Well,
after you get it fixed.
I had a buddy who's an electrical engineer, and he goes, "Oh yeah," yeah, that makes sense. I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, if electronics are going to fail, they're usually going to fail within the first like 12 to 30 working hours, you know, and if they don't, then they're probably good." And I was like, "Okay." I wish I'd have known that.
The Les Paul necks will crack and break when you look at them wrong.
That's exactly. There's another thing about the Gold Top, dude.
The headstocks.
I think the headstocks has been broken off and was repaired, so now I don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
Because it's like now it's like sturdy as can be.
Yeah, and I've had Les Pauls and that's happened, and everyone always says, yeah, it's reinforced tighter and stronger and blah blah. And I'm always like, well, why don't they initially do that?
Could we do that first? You know?
Yeah, my bass player had I never had a brand new guitar, but I had a Black Beauty, and I saw it happen actually. It dropped out of his hand, like, not the guitar itself, actually just the case.
Okay.
I'm not even a foot. Like out off the back of the truck, it slipped like one other guitar case length. When we got to the venue, when I went to go tune it, it was split like this, man.
God, dude.
And it was a weird feeling, like emotion that you don't really kind of know that it's like there till it happens. It's not good. When you like have a guitar like headstock, before a gig too, it's like your spirit just goes in. That's the tough battle.
Oh man.
So man, let's talk about me a little bit more. What are your future plans now? And we know you mentioned the album. Mention it again, and tell me what and tell me, you're such a creative dude, because you were saying you wish you could do this instrument thing. Tell me some wild ideas, man, that you would want to have come alive, either musically or what have you.
Man, So the new album is really good, I think. I mean, I personally, I mean, for you know, it was a really neat process, and I really like the people that I worked with, and my bandmates are absolutely wonderful. The producer was great. The engineer was awesome. Everybody did a beautiful job.
Is there a set date, a release date on it?
No,
yet?
it's still sort of in the works. It's
just
in terms of what we're going to do with it once
follow it.
it's mastered, you know.
Right.
So that sort of goes to like, you know, I mean, I'd like to see something happen with it where we could, you know, work with maybe a label or a booking agency or something where we can get back out and you know, kind of just start doing stuff again.
Time's come for it.
Yeah, you know, and I would hope hopefully something like that can happen, or you know, maybe get a song or something placed in a TV show or movie would be great. That's, you know, money in the bank. But that's sort of the plan with that so far. And we'll just sort of see, you know, we'll see when we send it to folks if anybody's interested, you know.
I'll definitely be interested.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sending it your way.
Yeah, I'll definitely be interested. And I think, yeah, I would love to. Sometimes, you know, heck, Elvis didn't get out of the country, but some Houstonians I even know have lived in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, you know, and they're so well received overseas.
It's true.
You know, even far east. You know, so there's a market for it.
Yeah.
A true genuine love for it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's, you know, that's
and
true.
You know, all you're doing is spreading love.
Yeah.
It just, at that point, it depends on you and how much you love traveling.
I hate traveling. I'm not a fan, but you know, as long as I don't have to drive all the time.
Well, they say, you know, you literally go through hell for about 20 hours just to do those two.
There's real truth to
22
that.
hours to get to do those two.
Yeah, there's
you
real
got to sleep
truth.
for 2 also.
Yeah, exactly. You know, if you're lucky, you can get a couple hours sleep. Just speaking of wild instruments, this was so I was introduced to the cigar box guitar probably about a decade or so ago, and there is a whole like subculture of cigar box guitar lovers and players, and it's really interesting. So I was and I still play one. I play one at almost
totally
every gig.
There's of course I would forget her name. Short blonde
Samantha Fish.
Samantha Fish.
Yes.
She's in fact, again, like the slide, the cigar box. You were the first one I've seen play it, you know.
Yeah.
So when I saw her play it, I kind of liked it for the fact that it reminded me of you. I was like, yeah, my buddy would play that first.
Yeah.
Not first, but you know, who knows. But you know, you were earlier. That's again way before the pandemic and all this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's probably.
Who turned you on to that? Talk about it.
This fella who I did not know at the time. We ended up being friends, but I was playing. I think I was playing at the Big Easy. And I'm going in to like set up, and this fellow comes up to me, and you know, you can tell him and his buddy were there, and they'd had a couple beers, and they were fixing to take off, and he goes, "Hey, I saw you here. I saw you here last week. You know, and I've got this cigar box guitar. If I bring another guitar home, my wife is going to kill me. If I like loaned it to you, would you play it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. You know." He's like, where are you gonna be? Where can I drop it off? And I told him, you know, where or whatever. The next day, it's like, oh, I'll be over here. You know, you can drop it off there or whatever. And of course, I immediately forget about it. And then, sure enough, the next day or whenever it was, I get to the gig, and there's this little cigar box guitar sitting on stage. And I'd seen him before. I'd seen somebody use one, and I wasn't super impressed. I was like, well, it's just a slide guitar that kind of looks different, you know. Bo Diddley did that years ago, you know, and
I didn't think they were like playable at first.
Right, exactly.
I thought maybe they were just
some
like,
of them aren't.
I thought maybe it was just like you know, something you buy at a gift shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, they're totally playable, and there's some of them, you know. And so I thought, well, okay, if I'm going to use this thing, I want to try to do something weird with it. And so at that same time, I was, beginning to mess with steel guitar, and so I had this volume pedal on my board, and so I started, using the volume pedal with it to create almost like a, sort of a cello sound. This first one I had sounded great, and so that was how I got into that, and then I started using it, just slowly adding it to the show and whatever. And then I met a fella that builds them, and so he I got one from him, and then I got this crazy idea, and I never play this instrument, but I was like, dude, I want a double neck. I want a double 3-string, because I play a 3-string cigar wax guitar. So it's like I want a 3-string, with 3 strings, and then, or a 6-string with 3 strings and then 3 octave strings on it. Mm-hmm. And then I want a regular 6-string up here, or vice versa, a regular 6-string down here that I can play, just regular on. And so he made it, and I remember, it took a few months, and then he's like, okay, it's ready. So I went to go pick it up.
Is this the first ever double neck cigar box?
Probably not, but it's definitely
the string configuration.
Oh, probably,
Yeah.
But dude, I saw the thing, and it's just a big box, and it's got the bottom one, the regular 6-string one is a resonator like this, and then the top one's just all electric, and it's a little double 3.
So it's not 2 boxes put in one.
It's one box.
One big box.
With 2 necks on it. And I saw the thing, and I was like,
that's amazing.
Oh, crap, what have I done? Dude, I still haven't figured out how to play it. That was probably, 8 or 9 years ago. And I still, it's really cool, and it sounds great, but it's just so big and awkward. I haven't figured it out yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. But
it's fun, huh?
It's super cool.
It's there, and
the sounds are interesting. Yeah, we call it the mothership.
Oh. So, man.
Yeah.
I know this, we're already in March, so I don't know when this will air. So we'll still do it anyways, but you're playing the Kessler Theater in Dallas.
Oh, yeah, man.
March 16th.
Yeah, doing a solo show. I'm opening for Marcia Ball.
Nice.
Which should be a blast. We're doing that one in Dallas on the 16th, and then on the 17th, we're in Houston at the Heights Theater.
Heights Theater.
Yeah.
Great venue.
Yeah.
I just saw Del Castillo there, and they play acoustic instruments.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
They also, they push it.
Uh-huh.
And the next thing you hear is like, where's the wall coming from?
That's right.
Super.
That's how you do it, man.
Feedback and all. Another great Texas fit. I wasn't sure if you were a native Houstonian,
mm-hmm.
but you make Houston proud, man.
Thank you,
You
brother.
really do. I want to sincerely thank you for being here, man.
It's my great pleasure. Thanks for having me, dude.
I have to do. Well, no, thank you, and to play that music live in person. Thank you so much for that beautiful music. I look forward to your album. I wish you all the best. I look forward to it, man. Again, you bring the element of surprise into music, so that's exciting. And then excitement is what's lacking in music. It doesn't matter what genre of music you listen to or play, excitement is excitement,
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for doing what you do, man. I have to, that's the portion where I always forget to do this. So this is when I finally go to the paper and I say, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Bling. All right, and that's it, man.
Beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Oh, dude, thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
What a blast. This was
I wanted
absolutely
to
wonderful.
ask you, so when did you start getting into comedy? That was going to be my first question. Because when Jerry Wayne Longmire, the comedian, was here, I was like, so how long you been playing guitar?
Yeah, exactly.
And he looked at me, I was like, what? And I had told
Hold on, let me see. Check this other page here. Comedy. You're a comedian? Is that it? That's hilarious.
What's funny is that I had told Brett, I said, hey, man, do a background check thing on there. But I mean, Jerry Wynn and I go back to A-Leaf. I've known this since he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he's just a rising star now. And he found a guy, he goes, well, I found an obituary for him. And then he goes, well, it kind of looks like him. I said, can you print it out?
Oh shit, dude, that's
So
awesome.
when we were doing the interview, I told Jerry Wayne, I said, Jerry Wayne, man, we did background check on you and all this stuff, and wanted to show you what showed up. Jerry Wayne Longmire, Stafford, all this stuff was like,
lining up,
past 19, I don't know, 82. When I turn around, his face lights up because he goes, wait, what? He goes, I feel like I owe this family money, or like I should have been at his funeral. He looked just like him. So I told Brett, I go, man, go check it. He had brought all your stuff up, and he was like, I'll look for his obituary.
No,
you ain't gonna find the Mighty Orq.
Not yet.
No.
Let me get the record out.
That's gonna happen once. Unless we fake it.
That's good publicity. We sell more records.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah, because if you sell on Spotify, like for the next 10 years, if you sell a bazillion, you might get $10.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. It's crazy how they do that. I don't even know. Like, people are like, oh man, I'm signed up with Spotify, I stream your album, do you get any of that money? And I'm like, no.
And the fact that like the owner of like such companies can like live so lavishly.
Oh, he's a billionaire.
Bazillionaire, right? And off the backs of people that are like, hardworking people that have suffered some kind of trauma or pain, so then they can go past that and then give birth to something out of it, which is something very positive, and then create art out of it. Because some of the stuff in life, is defeating. Most of the people become, they give up.
Yeah.
They're defeated.
Yeah.
To go past that, to be an artist, to fight, and then create your own medicine, and then to go all that, and then not see it, just get taken away from you. And have somebody live like a single individual live so lavishly off of it, where the artists there, like the older artists and stuff like that, they don't fucking have retirement money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing for them. There's no homes or like there ain't shit for them. You know what I'm saying? That's it's especially in the realm of like rock music and stuff like that. Unless you're a big name, or what have you, and you're touring all the time. Which is, touring is so expensive now because the gas prices and whatnot. Like,
and it's hard work.
It's obsolete, yeah. Because I know, I had Larry Berrigan here, and he was talking about how much he was making Tejana, playing Tejana gigs. He was like, shit, I make a hell of a lot more with playing Tejana than I do with Hellstar. But I mean, his love falls in one place. I always say, you either love it, you're crazy, or a little bit both. I'm finding out, like, with me having kids and stuff like that, now, I used to think I think I'm just straight up crazy.
Hey, that'll work, man.
I don't know why I play guitar anymore.
That'll work,
I'm
dude.
nuts, man.
What the hell?
It's I feel like I don't know shit every time I pick it up.
I have that same experience.
So it's not like a defeating feeling, but it's like I'm excited to play, but it's always the stuff that I know how to play. That's what makes me happy about it. But then sometimes I get out of the box, and use like my technical. Like once I'm warmed up, which is like warmed up, then I can go like, and go here and there, and like trying to do other things that like almost like with your imagination,
Yeah.
I try to just not watch too much. I do.
Right.
Instagram guitar players that I follow because they are just like, there's some that are just like perfection, man.
Well,
like I mean, soulfully though, man. I mean, just some of it is just like. The few that I've followed, man, like Matias, whatever his name is, the Brazilian jazz, like.
Oh God, I don't even know.
He plays beautiful, man.
No kidding.
He plays the double stop. He plays everything with like double stops. He'll play runs with it.
What?
It's the most.
I'm gonna have to like find this guy and.
As soon as you hear him, you're like, hey, this is different. And he's got his own voice.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it.